Well, I'm glad somebody's hyped. Good evening, good evening, good evening. The Elysium. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I think I know who you are. Many thanks that you could join us tonight. And my gosh, we are halfway through this. It only took 5 years. But now we have the end of season 2. We're going to see it live tonight for the first time, May 13th, 2020. And then in the next few days, we'll be releasing. Yeah, I figured it was you, Jeremy. Like I said, glad you could be on board. And then, like tomorrow, I'll probably release episode 9, and then Friday we'll release episode 10. Just so give episode 9 people time to watch it. Episode 10, I might release both of them at once. I don't know. They'll be out the next couple of days, basically, on YouTube, when I can get them uploaded, which should be fairly fast. But anyway, I digress. It's awesome that we made it this far, and I'm hoping that season 3, like all that production, will be out within a year. So this time next year, hopefully, we'll be celebrating all of season 3 being out. It's a big, hairy, audacious goal. But let's just shoot for it, shall we? And I'll have some things to talk about season 3 in a little bit. And we do have a few minutes. I started a few minutes early, just to trying to see if more people will come aboard. I've tried to go on the interwebs as much as I could to get this, but regardless of the crowd, it just feels good to get this done. And for people watching this on YouTube retroactively, it has not been easy, but there are still times I think, am I really doing this? Can I make it? And when I think that I just keep on editing the next video, I keep on animating the next scene, and just push my way through it, and we're halfway here, and now I'm getting choked up. Okay, I won't cry until we finish season 3. Let's just put it that way. All right. Not get too emotional yet. Anyway, so before we get started, you guys know the rules, or should know the rules so far doing these live stream premieres. I'm going to name off the cast, and I'm going to read the entire season 2 cast, everybody who's helped, and if I miss your name, I apologize, but I do have a list, so hopefully everybody's on there that has participated in one way or another in season 2 with voiceovers or whatever. And what was I going to say? Yeah, and then we will play. This is our first time doing back-to-back episodes, so I'll play episode 9 with no commentary, and then episode 10 with no commentary, and then we'll go through them again with me talking about both of them for a little bit, and that should be our hour basically, because the episodes are about 20 minutes each, or not 20 minutes each. Both episodes are 20 minutes altogether, basically. So 20 minutes of Heroescape action and fun, and we got some revelations from the Airborne Elite. We have some surprises happening. It's just going to be a gang-ho of a time. So let me first start off just by reading the entire season 2 cast list, because this might take a minute. Not more people to get on. So we're going to start in no particular order of people that I want to thank who's helped so far. So first off, voice actor Tyler Fine, who plays Toothpick. Mr. Joey Ranieri, who plays Lieutenant Dan, Kyrie Triplet, as well as other voiceover characters, which will be in Season 3. Mr. Corey Wong, who plays James Henderson, Dean Klaus, who plays Harold Gimp, get your Gimp on. And these 4 guys put in a lot of effort, as much as they can, for these characters, and really only one person of those 4 has really in any way connected to like the media or film industry. And all 4 are volunteers, and for being volunteers, they worked very hard on these characters, and I'm just so happy that they were able to come on board and portray basically what I had in mind from the beginning for most of what I thought these guys could be and would be. So thank you guys, and we'll continue with the cast list. Mr. Sean Gallagher, who voices the Sergeant Drake Alexander, as well as other smaller voiceovers, Kyrie Triplet number 2 in episode 1 season 2, and the Knights of Weston in like the opening battle sequence in episode 1 season 2. Mr. Charles Johnson, aka Blonde Network Bro, who plays Kurok the Elementalist. Great villain character. The guy's great at voice acting. He's a natural. Love having him on board. Miss Damaris Saleh, Bonita Miller, who is my mom, both dual voicing the character of Estevara. Mr. Andre Saleh, who voices Torin. Mr. Jerry Anderson, who plays Tubak Ra and the Prime Fire Elemental, as well as additional characters such as Kyrie Triple number 3 and Sir Denric. Sir Denric is in the opening battle sequence of season 2 as well. Mr. Michael Ortiz, who plays Kimo Shi, as well as Braxis in the opening battle scene of season 2 as well. And Mr. Jerry Anderson and Mr. Michael Ortiz, both again are natural guys with voiceovers. Glad to have them use their talents for this show. And the next is Nicole Averin and Rachel Averin. Nicole plays Raylan, the Kyrie Warrior, and Rachel plays Kelda, the Kyrie Warrior. Those 2, if you could guess, they're sisters and volunteers, and they are great at what they do. Thank you guys so much. Miss Shay Franchini, who voices Mariko. Mr. Ken Mathis, who voices Morsbane. My nephew Gavin Wilkie, who voiced all the grunt orcs in the opening battle sequence, as well as the fights, like the battle sequence between the orcs and the Airborne Elite in the beginning of season 2. Miss Adasa Gallagher, who voices some of the female agents in episode 10, which we're about to see. And Mr. Joe Crazy. And I'm sorry, Joe, I don't know how to pronounce your last name. I'm going to have to ask you how actually that's pronounced sometime in the future. But you know him on YouTube as Mr. Joe Crazy 3193, and he's voicing some roles in episode 10, Gorillinators, and in Agent Murphy, who we're calling him Agent Murphy. Mr. Mark Pierce, who plays Johnny Shotgun Sullivan. Mr. Aiden Wolfson, who plays the Prime Air Elemental. Miss Morgan Wolfson, who plays the Prime Water Elemental. We have some sibling voice actors here. Thank you guys so much. Jose Wilkie, who is my soon-to-be 2-year-old son, who voices Sujua and Zedekron. Mr. Jason Rutherford, who voices Nigok Sa, Kununkirt, and a zombie in the opening sequence of season 3. And I will say one thing: if it wasn't for this guy, Mr. Jason Rutherford, also known as Rocco Robotics on YouTube, if it wasn't for him, none of this would have been possible, because he's the guy who introduced me to Heroscape, and that whole series and lore and everything, and basically made me, he beat me so many times, but I ended up loving the game anyway. So thank you so much, Jason, for introducing to me that show and just the joy of tabletop gaming in general. Thank you so much. Miss Priscilla Wilkie, my wife, she's playing Otanashi in episode 10. And I just, of course, got to give her a special thanks, because she's been by my side these past 10 years of marriage. Always been a constant support nights that I would be doing all-nighters animating, and just all the craziness that have happened when it comes to doing this production. And she's taken it in stride, and she's been a great support. I love you, honey. Thank you so much. And of course, myself, I voiced Jandar, all the common Morrow squads, Liberius Lightfolly, and Silvaris. Yeah, so I thank myself, I guess. And then for the script writing, of course, there's me and Mr. Jeremy Unit. And Mr. Jeremy does have a voice acting role in Season 3, but we can't mention it as a credit until Season 3, so we'll have to wait for that. But he has helped immensely on the script, and I cannot thank him enough for fleshing out some of these characters and just making Tales of Valhalla just a little bit that much more connected to Heroescape. So thank you so much, Jeremy, for your help and your support. And then there was a small, there was a little bit of audio that we foleyed from my Jeep to make a little bit of wind for some of the creatures that had wings. And who helped with that was Jason Rutherford, Mr. Adam Burrell, and of course myself. Thank you guys so much for that help. That was a few years back. And that's pretty much it. And anyone else who's helped, I know, like High Ground Tiles, Hit Film, I'd say the people from Triune Films, a lot of which I've gotten the music from, or the video editing software, or some of like 3D printed terrain pieces that's helped enhance the world of Valhalla as well. Thanks, everybody. And so with that, I suppose we will get started soon, and I'll talk about Season 3 after we watch the end of Season 2. So how about we get started with this? And we're going to start with Episode 9. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this background music off. Give me a minute. I hope it wasn't too loud, and you could actually hear me through that whole thing. I don't know, it probably was. The joys of live streaming. Okay, so I'm going to turn my mic off. Zip. And we are going to get started with this. So we're going to do Episode 9, and then come back on for a minute, and then we're going to do Episode 10 right after. So let's get started with Episode 9. See you on the flip side. Revelations. Yeah. So that ended kind of suddenly, huh? Okay, we're gonna continue with Episode 10 then. So give me a moment, and we will get started with that one and see what happens next. How does this season end? We'll see. And okay, so Episode 9, what you just saw was called Success and Failure, and you can see how that was the case. And let me get to that. So this is the title of Episode 10, which is The Secret of the Airborne Elite. So the Airborne Elite has a secret. And let's find out what their secret is, shall we? This is a big spoiler reveal, by the way. This will basically define what the Airborne Elite are, at least in this universe, and the origins of the Airborne Elite, and Sergeant Drake Alexander as well, going forward. So let's get started with Episode 10 and see what it's going to be all about.
Follow me.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So, a lot of stuff to take in. In here, I was going to do something here. I'm going to start turning on the audio. I'm glad you think so, Jeremy. The energy, yeah, it's I definitely wanted things to carry into season 3. I wanted there to be a reason to come back for the next season and to leave some things hanging. So anyway, why don't I just start talking about, let's go through the episodes again and start talking, because time's a wasting. We're already 45 minutes into this live stream. It's gonna be past an hour before we're done. It's okay. Good times having fun. So let's go through this again, and this time let me talk you through some of this. Yeah, for sure, cliffhangers are nice. Yep, and there are a few. Some obvious ones, but just there are lots of things that haven't resolved themselves, and we'll start talking about some of them. Okay, so let us start episode 9 again, and we will start talking about that. All right, so let's do that. Let's get back in, and I'm going to cut the audio down in episode 9 in half, so you can hear the melodious sound of my voice. Okay, so now we come into this episode from a cliffhanger from episode 8, seeing what basically the resolution is from Kurok, trying to take these elementals for his own. And we can see that there was also a big mystery, Sujuwa, whether Sujuwa was an enemy or a friend. Now I realize, Sujuwa is actually a friend, is actually against Kurok and these spiders attacking and all that. So, Sujuwa is a good dragonfly, good humongous giant dragonfly to have on your side. But I wanted to kind of keep that with a few episodes up in the air, whether or not, was Sujuwa a friend or foe, and kind of looking more like foe, and then comes out, oh, nope, Sujuwa is actually a friend.
Sujuwa arrived a moment later and was helping us.
Sujuwa belongs to Akila.
That is right. Akila must have sensed our presence.
And we have Kelda kind of explaining that a little bit. Yeah, I just love the little back and forth between Kurok and Sujuwa, just running back and forth kind of in the background. And we got Toothpick trying to get into the fight with his elemental friends, and then of course Kurok does his lengthy dialogue, which he always does.
Curse you, Estabara. Curse you, Soldier Tooth. This is not.
It gets kind of interrupted though by Toothpick and a grenade. That would interrupt things. Yes, you're right, Jeremy. And Jeremy, it's the lore is great because Sujuwa used to be like Akila's puppy, and then became that because of magic. Yeah, and I mean that's one thing we discussed, Jeremy, when we were writing the script. How to integrate Sujuwa into this, and that Akila would have some type of sensory perception of Jandar soldier's plight, and
Stop breathing.
and how Sujuwa would be able to actually helping. Yeah, Jeremy, I wish I had a giant wasp as a pet.
Hey, what are you doing? She's already gone.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of wasps, but in miniature form, I wouldn't mind them. Anyway, so this is a very interesting scene where basically Mariko kind of dies, and Water Elemental ends up saving her because of the ability that the Prime Water Elemental has, is to merge with somebody. and
My
combining their
body
life
should
forces
feel
together
burnt,
can
but
potentially
it's surprisingly
save a
cold.
dead or
Thanks,
dying
Medianta,
figure.
It worked.
What?
So
Water's with you. Like
yeah, this was a really dramatic moment, and kind of gave Marika a little bit more depth into her character, since she is relatively new character into the series. Not really with Jandar. I mean, she's in the Uller faction,
Your blood must be moving normally
but not
again.
really
Let's
allies,
talk for a
since
little bit.
factions aren't really allies with
Rest
each other
fast,
at this
and I
moment
will heal you more
in
until you
time
can move
within this series.
Where is Karak?
So that just gave her a little bit more depth, a little bit more connection to the characters here and to the quest. And I wanted to give certain characters, good guy
Well, now that we got
characters,
you, we will help
a
keep
link
Korok away from you. As soon as Marika
with
is
these
able,
prime
we will find
elementals,
Shotgun
since
and
they
the
all,
others and get
you
out.
know, not one
I should
miniature
be ready
besides
soon.
Kurak can have
I
all
feel
of the
better
prime
by the
elementals
Toothpick.
symbiotic together.
Oh
So
my yes.
I
Sorry,
wanted,
guys.
you
We
know,
have to go. Mr. Shotgun and my friends are in
character,
trouble.
like
We have
different miniature
to go.
characters to end up become
Wait till we
symbiotic
can go
with
together.
the prime
Can't wait.
elementals like
We have to
Toothpick
go.
is.
Follow us
So
when you are able.
Marika
Bye.
would be the second one then.
What was that all about?
Me and Water sense it too. It feels like Shotgun and the others are being surrounded.
And we can see that Mariko has now new abilities with the extrasensory
No
perception
choice. They're
that
a few
an
miles
elemental
away
can
from
have,
where me and
apparently.
Toothpick left
We're
you
just making
fighting
that
the
up. Okay.
spiders. They must have tried to make a run
But
for
yeah,
it.
they have
If I have Shotgun, they will
sensory
be running
perception
to the ground
on
to
what's
fight
going
them.
around them,
Let's go
even
then.
miles away, and then
We'll take it slow.
obviously they can sense other prime elementals and where they're located, kind of vaguely, at least directionally, like a compass.
Is it just me? Or did the spiders seem...
And so we see here the spiders are still giving them trouble. So this is basically a continuation of the fight that we saw in episode 7.
something bad for them?
That means something good for us. We must have been able to find the elemental and were able to keep Kurak from acquiring it.
Sure. Or the spiders could be mad that they aren't killing us.
And we still,
Oh,
and when
boy.
there's that dragon beast,
This one again.
Wyvern I think it's called. So it's still there, and that
I will
is
take
a
this
bad
thing
guy.
out. Henderson, back me up.
Right.
Gimp, Daniel, you two keep those spiders off our backs.
So these guys gotta figure out how to take him out.
Just make sure Henderson doesn't accidentally shoot your back.
And we have
Oh, you shut up.
Henderson and Lieutenant Dan, predictably, bickering back and forth. And then we got Toothpick here, trying to find them, rushing to help. And I love this little scene because it just,
Let's go
excuse
home.
me, it gives a little bit of an encounter between Toothpick and Tubakra,
No.
and how Toothpick is a bit more powerful with Air Elemental, as we'll see right here.
We said no.
And I love that shot. I love the special effects for that shot. It turned out really well.
Not ignore me.
Yes, we wounded it.
A few more of those and we got this thing. Wait, Henderson, look
And now,
out.
of course, we
Let it
get to
grab
the
you.
end here, and of course, Toothpick is
no.
gonna. We're gonna see some power from Toothpick that we've never seen before.
What just happened?
But then all of a sudden, he gets taken, kidnapped, and that is basically the big string that's gonna lead us into season 3. Like, okay, how are we gonna recover Toothpick? How are we gonna recover the Air Elemental if they've been taken by what apparently the Morrow?
I deserve.
And how are the Morrow gonna come into play now in season 3?
No, sir. I have not trained with Air.
You really should then, Toothpick.
And
Jandar
how
did
are
ask for you to
like
do
the
that.
rest of the characters going to still fulfill their quest, which is recovering the elementals so the bad guys don't get them, technically.
Let's do it. Toothpick! Watch out! Behind you! What is going on? Hey, where did
And yeah, we got
Toothpick go?
Wyvern just running away, basically,
got taken.
tail between his legs.
Saw
Okay,
the
I'm
last
done.
few
I'm done
seconds of
fighting.
what happened. That was a Morrow teleporter.
And so the frustration of the group just realizing that
no! Darn it.
their friend, their comrade has been taken, and there's nothing they can do about it. At least at that moment. Okay, let's see here. Let's see. Jeremy's saying, I love that teleportation animation effect. Yes, it's very simple. I mean, I gleaned from different tutorials from like Film Riot and HitFilm. But yeah, it's I mean, and a lot of it has to do with like pre-production when you're animating, how you're animating to prepare for that effect, and then just inserting the effect in. So yeah, but I love it too. It's very aesthetically pleasing every time it happens, and you'll see more of Tulbach Ra in season 3 and him using that teleportation quite effectively. So it will not be the last that we see of that. Okay, so now let's move on to episode 10 and talk about the secret of the Airborne Elite, because this is a big reveal. This is a big spoiler that basically we've kept hidden the whole time. So now this is it. I mean, I think this is almost bigger than saying that the Valkyrie generals are now bodiless and powerless, or at least equal to, because this goes well. Let's just get started, okay? We'll start talking about it when we get in the episode. All right, let's cut this, of course, the audio down in half so we can actually hear what's going on here, or I can hear myself. Okay, and so now you can see the map is showing that we are on the western side of the Valkyrian wasteland, so the western border. This is another kind of degraded wall spire, a piece of wall in the middle of nowhere. And we're seeing Vidar faction figures up against Morrow, who are kind of holding the space. The Vidar faction is trying to take it. So these are characters that we'll see a lot more of in Season 3, and there's a reason why we're seeing it now, just to establish these characters a little bit and show that, yes, we will be seeing them again, and they'll have a connection in the overall story arc eventually. And this is a wonderful fight scene. This is just a nice little ambush type scene to where the Morrow just gets slaughtered, which is a lot of fun. And they get fried too. I mean, that was one thing I wanted to, is that Morrow get fried in lava, so you get to see a little bit of that as well.
Says this wall could be something of value. We must maintain an active guard here from now on. By the will of Vidar, we will overcome.
Yeah, and yeah, that Agent Murphy, which I just decided to call him Agent Murphy because he just looks like a Murphy, so he might play a role in future seasons. Just a minor role in Season 3, but okay, now we're going to so we are on the, what did it say? The western end. Now we're on the eastern border of the Valkyrian wasteland. And here we have our heroes saying, thinking, okay, we have to cross this. How are we going to cross this? And so this is another situation that they're in now. And we won't see the resolution of that until Season 3.
Yes, we sense them. Not in the wasteland itself, but in the lands beyond.
And you can see now,
That is what I was
reminded that Mariko
there
does
is
have
nothing
extra
forward, is
sensory
there?
powers because she
We have
does
no choice
have
but to find
the
a way
water
through that
elemental
lava
within
pit.
her.
I can fly to see if there is any good paths to walk on, but the going will be dangerous no matter what.
And she can sense, the other prime elementals all on the other side of the Valkyrian wasteland. So basically, these guys are stuck until they find a way through this and
Please don't say
Gimp
we have
kind
to
of
go through
explains it
Riot.
well.
I am sorry, Gimp. This is the only way for all of us to get up land.
Drat.
Throws that little bit of comedy in there.
Ash soot. I am never getting clean.
So,
And so now, of course, I mean,
Beyond this
this is
wasteland?
we're
Yes.
halfway through,
That's all I need to hear.
this
Getting it
story,
back is
and
the
so
most important
usually,
thing now.
Right. We
Um,
will get him back.
cookie cutter. You know, you're going to have your heroes be going through some type of situation, some type of dilemma where they've been hurt, and something that's hurting them to the core.
I always do. Tupik would not have made that attempt to
Excuse me.
save me.
That's enough, Henderson.
And
The
you
Morrow
know,
that
they're
took
not,
Toothpick is a Morrow
you know, all
teleporter
powerful.
named
They don't have
Toolbox.
control of
He's going
everything.
to get Toothpick no matter
They've
what
taken
happened. There was
quote
no
unquote
chance of
losses, and
Even Shotgun would have
need to
had a
figure
hard
out,
time
you know,
going
what to
one-on-one
do
with
and how to
Toolbox.
mentally prepare themselves for what seems like a
Xander
very
should
uphill
never
climb
have had
ahead.
us go on this quest. He should have stopped us. There is no way we can take on these kinds of enemies. They are
And
way
I
too
think
strong.
Henderson and Lieutenant Dan both have an equal
But
share
you,
in
of all people,
being
were not
very, very
concerned
frustrated.
about us dying.
I am not talking about myself dying. If my friends were to die, I would.
You are concerned about us?
We get to see a little sensitive side of
Henderson
Lieutenant Dan
and
just for an
Toothpick?
instant.
course not.
You know, that he
If you
really
three
doesn't
die
care
under my
about himself. He
command, it
does
would look
really
bad
care
for my
about
leadership
his friends.
capabilities.
But
And
don't tell him I said
I'm
that.
just worried. If I die when protecting all of your sorry behinds, and you die anyway, it would be a big waste of my sacrifice.
This
Yeah,
is
Jeremy's
what's
saying
bothering
Valkyrian
me,
Wasteland is
hasn't
insane
it? Ever since you
and terrible to
fought,
try
first
to
in
travel
House of
through.
You've
But this
been
war
afraid
pushed
of losing
armies
the
through it in the OG game.
Daniel,
Yeah,
you
well,
need to
I mean,
cut it up.
and I kind of make it that like there are like brick paths that used to take you through the Valkyrian Wasteland, but there's been recent volcanic activity to where those paths might not be trustworthy
You
anymore.
aren't what?
So it just makes it more
We're not
treacherous
the
through that
best of
wasteland.
the best. We are some of the worst soldiers to come out of the U.S. Army. We were so bad, in fact, that before arriving here in Valhalla,
And here's a
we never
revelation.
were allowed to fight in the battlefield.
Here is the secret of the Airborne Elite, and really the secret of Sergeant Drake
You all
Alexander
get
as well.
Some basic training. But he is right. Outside of that, all we did was help sell war
That
bonds. as
they're
stage
soldiers,
performers.
Wait a
but
second.
they're some of the
Does that
worst
mean Drake
soldiers
Alexander,
to come
the
out of the U.S.
battlefield
Army.
fighter
They're
when
not
Gallagher brought you?
the best.
It was the stage
They are not
performance.
elite. They're just
Way for the
regular
troops
guys.
that were on
And
leave
way worse
or-
than that, they are
So, all
actors.
of you was, how do you say it? Actors?
Yes, we were actors
And
for the
one of the
Army.
reasons why
But
I
on
kind
that
of played into
performance
that
day,
is
for
because
some
so many
reason,
people
we
like
were given live
for
weapons
there's
by
an
mistake.
animated
If
sequence
Gandalf would not have
introducing
told us
the
when he
Heroescape
did, we
game,
would have died from that accident.
and it kind of gives like I think it gives when Sergeant Drake Alexander is fighting apparently in France in 1945.
I feel like we're doing a lot of turning
And so many people comment
I don't
on
care
that
who
animation
we are
saying, well,
or who we were.
technically the army wouldn't be fighting in France in 1945. 1945, they'd already been headed into Germany because the war would be almost over,
We might be
and
the worst of the worst,
Europe would
but
be
I
mostly
still fight.
won.
It does not matter.
So what I decided to do
You
is
are
kind of be like, well, what
and
if
by
they
the will
were
of Gandalf,
fighting
you are here for
in
a
France in
reason.
1945, but it was a staged performance and they were just actors? And I kind of got that inspiration from Marvel, actually, because Captain America basically was performing for soldiers and not fighting in the battle. So I'm like, why not these guys? And since considering like they're so bad, you know, they just be fighting, and then you know one accident caused Jandar to take them to Valhalla to see if they can actually do some good.
Sure.
Oh, of course. That is exactly what you were doing. Please.
Ugh,
Let's see
I
here.
can see why
Jeremy
Raylan
saying,
had
So come on,
performer
Henderson.
actor
You've
thing
been in back
had
way
me do
too
some
much.
research, and
It's
it's
your
really
turn
quite
to take
interesting
point.
media.
Like I was saying
I sense that
before,
connection
we've
is
gotta
super
find a way
cool
through
that they
this
use the
lava
idea
field.
because it's
And
super
Kim,
spot on.
You provide
Um,
cover.
Yeah.
Okay. We will get going as soon as I find a good path. Okay, Daniel?
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of people might like that revelation about the Airborne Elite, at least according to Tales of Valhalla. Anybody can make up their own revelations if they want to. But I mean, I just think it just makes them more human, make them more real, make them realize that, you know, they're not superheroes. They're just guys. They're just trying to live, you know, through everything up against these,
Could those guys
you know,
any more ridiculous?
expectations and bad guys that are way beyond them, but they're going to do it no matter what. Yeah, Jeremy says it gives them a little bit more humanity. Exactly. Okay, and now let's see here. We get to Gear and Lightfall, and we saw them a little bit in the end of season 1, and now we see them again here at the end of season 2. And these are some of my favorite characters, even though we see them just a little bit. These guys will play a much bigger role in season 3. And I'll even give a little bit of spoiler. They're actually going to be joining the Airborne Elite and friends on their quest. And they'll just make the comedy just that, just make everything so much more funny and that much more intense. It really will.
Great.
I don't see or sense any prime elemental around.
And you see we got Drake Alexander and Raylan there, and Sergeant Drake Alexander finally in the flesh. We see him. He'll be more in the flesh in season 3. Yeah, give a shout out to High Ground Tiles. You see them throughout episode 10.
Don't tell me we have to comb the whole desert.
No.
And you'll see them a lot more in season 3. Like episode 10, you saw them actually at the beginning. There's like rock terrain tiles. There's lava tiles from high ground. You see these sand tiles. And you're going to see a lot more of their terrain come season 3. Excuse me a second. Had a burp. Okay. And so here is the end credit sequence. And again, just naming everybody that I thanked earlier. I couldn't ask for a better group of people, and all volunteering their time. So again, thank you guys for all your work and help, and thank you into season 3 as well, because there are a couple characters we haven't revealed yet. There's a few people. Like Mr. Jojo Crazy, who just actually came on board just a couple months ago. And he'll be playing some characters in Season 3 as well. And so just glad to have people come on board, even at the last minute. And Jeremy Unit, there's your credit for script and story, and then you'll have a voice acting credit in season 3, like I said, but I'm going to leave that character as a mystery for some time later. Yeah, quest will continue in season 3, and we're going to be talking about season 3 a little bit before we finish this live stream. More the production side of things, but first let's get back to where we're not video anymore, and let's turn the background music back on, shall we? Here. First I'm going to kill that audio. Hold on a second. Anyway, so glad to get this stuff out. Alright, there we are. Alright, background music back on. And let's get the desktop audio on so you guys can hear it. And let's just lower it a little bit so you can actually hear me talking. Okay, so episode 3, season 3. The great news is, Jeremy, me and Jeremy are gonna do a live stream together either next Wednesday or the Wednesday after. I have to schedule something with him. But sometime with the next couple weeks, we are actually gonna go through season 2, talk a little bit about the lore, the story, what could it mean for Tales of Valhalla universe, and dive a little bit more into season 2. So now that by next week it'll all be out, so we'll talk about it. We'll do a live stream for that. But when it comes to episode 3, I of course will be animating a lot. There's only about 20-30% of it that's been animated. And so we still have a lot of animating to do, and that's what I'll be mostly doing, so there won't be much video editing. But with that caveat, I'm going to say that we'll still be doing live streams on Wednesday, and we will be doing video editing of Season 3 here on the live stream as soon as possible. Like I said, we're gonna do an episode with Jeremy discussing season 2, and then after that, we're just gonna dive headfirst into just doing bit by bit some video editing as much as we can, and obviously give updates on the animating and where that's going, and so that way we can just start working on season 3 right away and get it started. And what else is going to say on that? Yeah, so that's the big thing. So these live streams going to keep on going. Content's going to keep on going. There is, I mean, so much to talk about in season 3, so much to show. I mean, well, I will say one thing about season 3: it won't have like an opening battle sequence like it did season 2. Actually, the first episode would probably be the most boring episode out of all of season 3, probably. But that's just to get things set up and established. We are, and let's see, let me bring up the map so that I can just give a little bit of hint of what's going to be happening. So, so ending season 2, we are, like, we got the Airborne Elite here. We got some characters here. Toothpick and Toolbach Ra are around here. Who knows where Estavara is? Who knows where Kurak is? Kurak is probably still here, somewhere around here somewhere. And so these characters are going to be finding their way, and of course we got Kremland Desert, so we got Gear and Light Folly over here. And all these characters are going to end up going through Einar's territory, and so we might be seeing some of Einar's faction a little bit. We might have some encounter with the Vidar squad that took out those Morrow that we saw in episode 10. So we might see some characters encounter each other there. And I'm going to give a spoiler. We have like Kimoshi and a whole Morrow army basically just hanging out here because there's a swampland here on the southern end of Einar's territory. And so everything, that all might come into play. We might have all these characters converge in this area, or possibly in the desert. I'm just giving hints. I already know what's going to be happening, but I'm just giving hints. And all the same, they're racing to try and find these elementals to acquire some type of power that only Kurak kind of knows. And some other characters have a clue, but we'll get into that. So there's going to be a lot of bad guys, a lot of heroes coming on board, and who knows what's going to be happening maybe further around, up further north, while the series is ongoing. So it's exciting, and I will be posting these episodes, episode 9 and 10, episode 9 tomorrow, episode 10 on the Tales of Valhalla YouTube page, so you guys just be able to see all that stuff in full. Be posting this live stream hopefully within the next week or so you can hear the conversation. And yeah, so with that, let's finish this live stream, because we are an hour 13 minutes. Pretty long live stream, but of course there's a reason behind that. We had a lot to see and a lot to talk about. So with that, I'll say what I always say when we end these things. For those of you who are watching this on the Tales of Valhalla YouTube page, this is the edited down version of what is an hour and like 15-minute live stream. And if you want to see the full amount of this live stream, go to a link in the description below to our Connector Productions page, where you'll see the full amount of everything, minus I'll probably edit down like the full content of me not talking when we watch the episodes. I usually edit those down, but you can see those episodes on YouTube anytime when this live stream comes out. So go ahead and click the link in the description below, or you should be able to see something on the screen here. And thank you everybody for watching. Jeremy, a couple of you have joined us on Twitch. And we'll see you guys next time. And we are just going to be getting into Season 3 and just start production pretty much right away. So stay tuned and just get ready for a fun time this year. So talk to you guys later. Have a good night. And yeah, until next time.